Occupational illness. 1. Understanding occupational diseases. Occupational diseases are diseases caused by work, work tools, materials, processes and the work environment. Thus, occupational diseases are artificial or man-made diseases. In line with this, there is another opinion which states that occupational disease is a health disorder, both physical and spiritual, that is caused or aggravated by work activities or work-related conditions. Hebi Ilma Adzim, 2013, 2. Causes of occupational diseases. There are several causes of occupational diseases that commonly occur in the workplace. Here are several types that are classified based on the causes of the disease in the workplace. A. Physical group. Noise, radiation, extreme temperatures, air pressure, vibration, lighting. B. Chemical group. All chemicals in the form of dust, vapor, gas, solution, mist. C. Biological groups. Bacteria, viruses, fungi, etc. D. Physiological, ergonomic group. Workplace design, workload. E. Psychosocial group. Psychological stress, work monotonies, job demands. The effect of lighting on the eyes. The lighting strength varies, ranging from 2,000 to 100,000 lux in open areas throughout the day and at night with artificial lighting of 50 to 500 lux. Eye fatigue is characterized by A. Irritation of the eyes, conjunctiva. B. Double vision. C. Headache. D. Accommodation and convergence power decrease. E. Visual acuity. Efforts to improve the use of lighting in the workplace. Grandjean, 1980, suggests the following workplace lighting design system. A. Avoid local lighting sources directly within the worker's line of sight. B. Avoid using shiny paint on machines, tables, chairs and work areas. C. Avoid installing Florida per terra liter lights perpendicularly in a line vision. 4.3. Types of occupational diseases. Air pollution by particles can be caused by natural events or human activities, namely through industrial and technological activities. There are many kinds and types of particles that pollute the air. Depending on the type of industrial activities and existing technology, air particles are very detrimental to human health. In general, air polluted by particles can cause various kinds of respiratory tract diseases or pneumoconiosis. Pneumoconiosis is a respiratory tract disease caused by particles, dust, entering or settling in the lungs. There are many types of pneumoconiosis, depending on the type of particles, dust, that enter or are inhaled into the lungs. Several types of pneumoconiosis that are often found in areas that have a lot of industrial and technological activities, namely silicosis, asbestosis, viscinosis, anthracosis, and berylliosis. 5a. Silicosis disease. B. Asbestosis disease. C. Viscinosis disease. D. Anthracosis disease. E. Berylliosis. F. Respiratory tract disease. G. Skin disease. H. Hearing damage. I. Symptoms in the back and joints. J. Cancer. K. Coronary arteries. L. Liver disease. M. Neuropsychiatric problems. N. Diseases of unknown cause. 6.3. A. Silicosis. Silicosis disease is caused by contamination of free silica dust, in the form of CO2, which is sucked into the lungs and then settles. This free silica dust is often found in iron and steel factories, ceramics, concrete foundries, workshops that work on iron, filing, grinding, etc. Apart from that, silica dust is also found in many iron, tin and coal mines. The use of coal as fuel also produces a lot of CO2-free silica dust. When burned, Silica dust will come out and be dispersed into the air together with other particles, such as aluminum dust, iron oxide and carbon in the form of dust. Workplaces that have the potential to be contaminated by silica dust need strict occupational and environmental safety and health monitoring because there is no proper cure for silicosis. 7.3. B. Asbestosis. Asbestosis is an occupational disease caused by asbestos dust or fibers that pollute the air. Asbestos is a mixture of various silicates, but the most important is magnesium silicate. Asbestos dust is often found in factories and industries that use asbestos, asbestos fiber spinning factories, factories with asbestos roofs and so on. Asbestos dust that is inhaled into the lungs will cause symptoms of shortness of breath and coughing accompanied by phlegm. The tips of the sufferer's fingers will appear large, widen. If the phlegm is examined, asbestos dust will be visible in the phlegm. The use of asbestos for various purposes needs to be followed by awareness of environmental safety and health so as not to cause asbestosis. 3. C. Bisonosis disease. Bisonosis is a disease caused by contamination of cotton dust or cotton fibers in the air which is then inhaled into the lungs. This pollution can be found in cotton spinning factories, textile factories, companies, or cotton warehouses. The incubation period for bisonosis is quite long, namely around 5 years. The initial signs of bisonosis include shortness of breath, a feeling of heaviness in the chest, especially on Mondays, i.e. the first day of work. Every week, in advanced or severe bisonosis. The disease is usually followed by chronic bronchitis and may also be accompanied by emphysema. 3. D. Anthracosis. Anthracosis disease. Anthracosis is a respiratory tract disease caused by coal dust. This disease is usually found in coal mine workers or in workers who involve a lot of coal use, such as burning coal in iron furnaces, locomotives, stokers, and also on coal-powered ships, as well as boiler workers at steam-powered electricity centers. Burn coal. There are 3 types of anthracosis, namely, pure anthracosis, silicoanthracosis, and tuberculosal coanthracosis. 3. E. Beryliosis. Air polluted by beryllium metal dust, whether in the form of pure metal, oxide, sulfate, or in the form of halogenides, can cause a respiratory disease called beryliosis. The metal dust can cause nasopharyngitis, bronchitis and pneumonitis, which are characterized by symptoms of a slight fever, dry cough and shortness of breath. Beryliosis can occur in industrial workers who use beryllium alloys, copper, workers in fluorescent factories, radio tube manufacturing factories, and also in workers processing materials supporting the nuclear industry. 3. F. Respiratory tract diseases. Occupational diseases of the respiratory tract can be acute or chronic. Acute, for example, occupational asthma, often diagnosed as acute tracheobronchitis or due to chronic viruses, e.g. asbestosis, such as symptoms of chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, or acute pulmonary edema. This disease is caused by chemicals such as nitrogen oxide. 3. G. Skin diseases. It is generally nonspecific, troublesome, not life-threatening, and sometimes resolves on its own. Of the reported contact dermatitis, 90% are work-related skin diseases. Occupational history is important in identifying irritants that are causative, sensitizing, or due to other factors. 3. H. Hearing damage. Many cases of hearing loss are the result of prolonged exposure to noise. Some cases are not due to work. A detailed employment history should be obtained from each person with hearing impairment. Made recommendations about prevention of hearing loss. 3. I. Symptoms in the back and joints. There is no test or procedure that can differentiate work-related back pain from work-related back pain not related to work. Determination of likelihood depends on employment history. Arthritis and tenosynovitis are caused by unnatural repetitive movements. 3. J. Cancer. There is a significant percentage of cancer cases caused by exposure in the workplace. Evidence that a substance in the workplace is a carcinogen is often derived from individual clinical reports rather than epidemiological studies. In cancer, exposure to carcinogens begins greater than 20 years before diagnosis. 3. K. Coronary arteries. This disease is caused by stress or carbon monoxide and other chemicals in the workplace. 3. L. Liver disease. Often diagnosed as liver disease due to viral hepatitis or cirrhosis due to alcohol. Important work history, as well as toxic substances present. 3. M. Neuropsychiatric problems. Workplace-related neuropsychiatric problems are often overlooked. Peripheral neuropathy, often associated with diabetes, alcohol use, or unknown cause. Depression due to substance abuse or psychiatric problems. Misbehavior may be an early symptom of work-related stress. More than 100 chemicals, I, solvents can cause depression. Some neurotoxins, including arsenic, lead, mercury, methyl, butyl ketone, can cause peripheral neuropathy. Additionally, carbon disulfide can cause psychosis-like symptoms. 3. N. Diseases of unknown cause. Diseases of unknown cause allergies and anxiety disorders may be related to chemicals or the environment. Sick building syndrome. Multiple chemical sensitivities, MCS. For example, perfume, petroleum derivatives, cigarettes. 4. Factors caused by work due diseases. A. Physical factors. B. Chemical factors. Circa biological factors. D. Ergonomic, physiological factors. E. Psychological factors. 4. A. Physical factors. Reason. 1. High or loud sounds can cause deafness. 2. High temperatures can cause hyperpyrexia, miliaria, heat cramp, heat exhaustion, and heat stroke. 3. Infrared electromagnetic radiation can cause cataracts. 4. Ultraviolet can cause conjunctivitis. 5. Active radio, alpha, beta, gamma, X can cause interference with human body cells. 6. High air pressure causes Poison disease. 7. Vibration causes Raynaud's desease, metabolic disorders, polyneuritis. Prevention. 1. Control of light in the laboratory room. 2. Arrangement of adequate ventilation and provision of drinking water. 3. Reduce vibration with anti-vibration pads. 4. Setting an appropriate work schedule. 5. Eye protection for laser light. 6. Filters for microscopes. 4. B. Chemical factors. Reason. Origin. Raw materials, additional materials, temporary results, byproducts, products, production waste or waste materials. Form. Solid, liquid, gas, vapor or particles. It can enter the body through the respiratory tract, digestive tract, skin and mucosa. The entry can be acute or chronic. Effects on the body: irritation, allergies, corrosiveness, asphyxia, systemic poisoning, cancer, fetal abnormalities. Occurs in officers, workers who often come into contact with chemicals and drugs such as antibiotics. Likewise, solvents which are widely used in antiseptic components, disinfectants are known to be the most carcinogenic substances. All of these ingredients can sooner or later have a negative impact on health. The most frequent health problem is occupational contact dermatosis, which is generally caused by irritants, ammonia, dioxane, and only a few due to allergies, ketones. Toxic ingredients, trichloroethane, tetrachloromethane, if swallowed, inhaled or absorbed through the skin can cause acute or chronic illness, even death. Corrosive materials, acids and bases, will cause irreversible tissue damage in the exposed area. Prevention. 1. Material Safety Datasheet, MSDS, for all existing chemicals for all laboratory staff to know. 2. Use a rubber bulb or vacuum device to prevent ingestion of chemicals and inhalation of aerosols. 3. Use personal protective equipment, eye protection, gloves, apron, laboratory coat, correctly. 4. Avoid using contact lenses, because they can stick between the eye and the lens. 5. Use respiratory protective equipment correctly. 4. C. Biological factors. Reason. Viral diseases, rabies, hepatitis. Fungal diseases, anthrax, leptospirosis, brucellosis, tuberculosis, tetanus. Parasitic diseases, ankylostomiasis, schistosomiasis. The work environment in health services is favorable for the proliferation of resistant strains of germs, especially pyogenic germs, coli, bacilli and staphylococci, which originate from patients, contaminated objects and the air. Viruses that spread through contact with blood and secretions, for example HIV and hepatitis B, can infect workers as a result of minor accidents at work. For example, due to scratches or being pricked by virus-contaminated needles. The incidence of nosocomial infections in health service units is quite high. Theoretically, the possibility of contamination by lock workers is very large. For example, doctors in hospitals have a risk of infection 2 to 3 times greater than doctors in private or private practice. And for sanitation workers handling infectious waste, they are always in contact with materials contaminated with pathogenic germs. And toxic dust have a chance of causing infection. Prevention. 1. All workers must receive basic training on hygiene, epidemiology and disinfection. 2. Before work, a health check is carried out on workers to ensure they are in good physical health. Have sufficient natural immunity to work with infectious materials, and immunization is carried out. 3. Carrying out laboratory work with correct practices, good laboratory practice. 4. Use appropriate disinfectants and use them correctly. 5. Correct sterilization and disinfection of premises, equipment, remaining infectious material, and specimens. 6. Proper management of infectious waste. 7. Use appropriate biological safety cabinets. 8. Personal hygiene of officers. 4. D. Ergonomic, physiological factors. This factor is a result of work methods, work positions, work tools, wrong work environment and wrong construction. Effects on the body. Physical fatigue, muscle pain, bone deformity, deformation, dislocation, and accidents. Ergonomics as a science, technology and art seeks to harmonize tools, methods, processes and work environments with human abilities, capabilities and limitations to create healthy, safe, comfortable working conditions and environments and achieve the highest efficiency. The ergonomic approach is conceptual and curative. Popularly, both approaches are known as to fit the job to the man and to fit the man to the job. Most workers in offices or government health services work in less ergonomic positions, for example equipment operators. This is because the equipment used is generally imported goods whose design is not suitable for the size of Indonesian workers. Incorrect and forced working positions can cause fatigue so that work becomes less efficient and in the long term can cause physical and psychological disorders, stress, with the most frequent complaint being low back pain at work. 23.4. E. Psychological factors. This factor is a result of work organization, leadership type, communication, work relationships, security, work type, monotonous, repetitive, overworked, underworked, shift work, and remote. The manifestation is stress. Some examples of psychosocial factors that can cause stress include 1. Health services are often emergency and involve a person's life or death. For this reason, workers in health laboratories are required to provide appropriate and fast service accompanied by authority and friendliness. 2. The work in certain units is very monotonous. 3. Less harmonious working relationships between leaders and subordinates or coworkers. 4. Mental burden due to being a role model for work partners in the formal or informal sector. 24.5. Diagnosis of occupational diseases. To be able to diagnose occupational diseases in individuals, a systematic approach is needed to obtain the necessary information and interpret it appropriately. This approach can be structured into 7 steps that can be used as a guide. 1. Determine the clinical diagnosis. 2. Determine the exposure experienced by workers so far. 3. Determine whether exposure can indeed cause the disease. 4. Determine whether the amount of exposure experienced is large enough to cause the disease. 5. Determine whether there are other factors that might influence. 6. Look for other possibilities that could be the cause of the disease. 7. Make a decision whether the disease is caused by his work. 25.6. Prevention of occupational diseases. Here are some tips for preventing occupational diseases, including 1. Wear personal protective equipment correctly and regularly. 2. Recognize work risks and prevent them from occurring further. 3. Immediately access the nearest health facility if an injury occurs. Apart from that, there are also several other precautions that can be taken, such as the following. 1. Primary prevention, health promotion. 2. Secondary prevention, specific protection. 3. Tertiary prevention. 6a. Primer prevention, health promotion, health behavior, hazard factors in the workplace. Good work behavior, sport, nutrition. B. Secondary prevention, specific protection, control through legislation, administrative, organizational controls, rotation, limiting working hours, technical controls, substitution, isolation, personal protective equipment, PPE, control of immunization health routes. C. Tertiary prevention, pre-employment health checks, regular health checks, periodic environmental inspection, surveillance, immediate treatment if problems are found in workers, immediate control at the workplace. 6. Prevention of occupational diseases. There are 2 factors that make disease easy to prevent. A. Disease-causing substances are easy to identify, measure and control. B. Populations at risk are usually easy to reach and can be monitored regularly and treated. Early detection guidelines according to WHO. A. Biochemical and morphological changes that can be measured through laboratory analysis. For example, inhibition of cholinesterase activity due to exposure to organophosphate pesticides. Decreased hemoglobin, HB, levels, abnormal sputum cytology, and so on. B. Changes in physical conditions and body systems that can be assessed through laboratory physical examinations. For example, electrocardiogram, physical work capacity test, nerve test, and so on. C. Changes in general health that can be assessed from the medical history. For example, drowsiness and mucosal irritation after exposure to organic solvents. 28. Apart from that, there are also several other precautions that can be taken, namely health checks. This health check includes A. Pre-placement inspection. This examination is carried out before a person is hired or placed in a certain job post with a possible threat to health. A physical examination supported by other examinations such as blood, urine, radiology, and certain organs, such as the eyes and ears, is basic data that is very useful if workers' health problems occur after working for a long time. B. Periodic health checks. Periodic health examinations are actually carried out at regular intervals after the initial examination before placement. A routine medical checkup does not always require a complete medical examination, especially if there are no clear indications. This examination must also focus on organs and body systems that may be affected by hazardous materials in the workplace. For example, audiometry is a very important test for workers who work in noisy work environments. Meanwhile, radiological examination of the chest photo, is important for detecting workers who are at risk of suffering from pneumocanosis because the work environment is polluted with dust.